Welcome back to SJU. I'm Roxy, Striar, and I am with a panel of amazing human beings. Ed Greer in the house.
Hello.
Hello. Emma Fyffe.
So great to be here, Roxy.
It really is.
It really is.
It's not even a fake. No, straight up. It really is. Joe Starr.
What a pleasure.
You're in Roxy's hair.
So right before we started, I said, I'm going to give myself some volume. And then Joe followed suit. Just peek behind the curtain. It's been quite a long day today.
Yeah.
It's a long day, but we are here for it because it's been a long 5 years. See where I'm going with this?
Hey.
5 years
Roxy.
ago-ish, Daredevil happened and changed all of our lives for the better. And also at times for the worse, but mostly for the better. And we want to talk about Daredevil, Marvel TV in general. I know we're all big nerds at this table, so it's time to nerd out about that stuff. And we also have some fan questions to get to because you guys are the best. But let's talk about Daredevil to start, guys. The first season of Daredevil premiered on April 10th, 2015, meaning it's been 5 years since the start of the Netflix Marvel Universe that predated the upcoming Disney Plus MCU verse. It's so funny because for kids coming up with it, they probably think whatever's happening on Disney Plus is like the start. But we know what happened.
We know better.
We know.
Are you guys all? I think Joe, I've heard you talk about this before. You're a Daredevil stan.
I like this show. I like this show quite a bit.
Yeah.
Sing.
Oh my God.
We like Daredevil quite a bit.
We love Daredevil.
Some might even call us Daredevils ourselves. Dare to devil.
Girl, don't you dare.
Oh, devil, don't you dare. Also, dare. Truth or dare.
Are you?
Devil.
Am
I'm
I
a truth
Matt
teller.
Murdock? Because I just found you guilty of slaying this shit.
It just gets better and better. But
I love
you
the show.
Daredevil.
I love the show a lot. This is, as I get older and more cynical and,
Wiser.
Yes. I feel like the further Marvel gets along, and yes, obviously I got excited for Endgame and went and really enjoyed it. But I think that the further they get along, the more I'm kind of like, cool, the next Marvel thing. And I'll go in and I'll go, I enjoyed that Marvel thing, and then I'll move on with my life. But Daredevil is really like the last time where I was like, holy hell, that Marvel thing. Like, that was perfect. Like, that was so good. Just phenomenal casting and tone, style, great fights. Season 2 gets a little Iron Man 2-y, but it just in terms of like trying to do a lot. But I think they really make up for it with the Punisher and Baron Shaw's performance. Elektra's fantastic in that one. And then season 3 is like a weird stripped down, lower budget, awesome piece of television.
Yeah. What do you think, Emma?
I'm a big fan of Daredevil as well. I agree with Joe. It got a little weird in season 2, but there were enough redeeming qualities. Of course, a lot of it having to do with John Barenthal as the Punisher, who's so great.
I loved season 2.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great. I love that you loved season 2.
Yeah.
I really liked Iron Man also, though. So
Iron Man or Iron Fist?
Well, he just said Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2.
So maybe that's
I also
why.
like. Honestly,
I actually liked Iron Fist as well, though. So
I'm in this boat with you because. Well, hang on.
No, Joe was Joe's like, I got one foot in the boat. I got one foot in
Iron
the
Man boat. And
I'm in the same schooner, and then the emergency rowboat Iron Fist fan boat. You can be in there yourself. But in terms of like Iron Man 2, there's something.
Love it.
Sure, but there's something about performers just having fun playing these characters that you're loving watching them play.
And it's
kind of
still
like,
them.
I'll just sit and watch this. That's cool.
I get that.
I can't tell you highlights from Iron Man 2 necessarily, but I know that I just enjoyed Robert Downey Jr. being all junior-y. And
Downey.
And Downey. Was it weird and bloated? Did he need to go to that donut shop? I don't know. But there was something charming about it. And same with Daredevil season 2, even though sometimes it was kind of like we're kind of overstaying our welcome with ninjas, which is I've never a sentence I thought that Joe Starr would say. Jesus.
Can you even overstay a welcome with ninjas?
I'm
Be
leaving.
real.
Yeah.
I just betrayed everything I grew up believing.
Emma, but you were saying that it got a little wonky.
But it got
Yeah.
back on board
We came back.
with season 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Well, yeah, I think I have a special relationship with this because honestly, I mean, I've been a Batman head my whole life, but as I matured and realized that, Batman has, I don't want to talk about his privilege and all that jazz because, again, undead kung fu ninjas that are from a 5,000-year-old sect are not something you can throw money at. You know what I mean? So Batman's privilege really doesn't have anything to do with him fighting crime on a day-to-day basis. You can't just throw money at the problem of the Joker. I'm sorry. You can't throw money at the problem.
But you can throw money at gadgets. And gadgets can.
No, that's great. All I'm saying is obviously
great.
money. Obviously the difference between Daredevil and Batman is money.
Yeah.
They have both the same sort of dedication to saving or whatever, but Daredevil by definition is more mature because
Right.
he has a smaller field. He's like, I'm trying to save Hell's Kitchen.
That's what I can do.
Yeah, that's what I can do. That's all I can do. You know what I'm saying? I do parkour. I can't do it in Albuquerque. There's not enough buildings. You know what I mean? Like he has to stay. And
You think it's the only Batman Daredevil difference, like the heightened senses?
No. Well, obviously, people have done the thing where how Batman should technically be called Daredevil because he's a wild dude who does a bunch of stunts, and Daredevil should be called Batman because he's literally blind. People have said that before.
Sure.
But I think the thing
I've never heard that, and that's very clever.
Yeah, but the thing about Daredevil is, again, he is a person who's trying to fight the war on two fronts as well, because he's a lawyer, so he sees the times the law fails, and he sees the times that he has to be the representative to make the law work.
That's something I never thought of really
Yes.
either. But for as many times as you can be like, well, Bruce Wayne's a billionaire. Like, what's he? It's like you have the great bit of like Batman should be handing out Scantrons and number 2 pencils. Matt Murdock is that like in practice.
Absolutely.
By day, actually trying to fix the system and do what's right, and by night, then punch people.
Right. He can't like take a 40-minute micro sleep and then wake up and mess with his back computer all day and then wait for the night to fall and then go beat up people at night. He has to go to work. He has to like clean up, make sure Fight Club fashion that he covers his bruises with some bangs or something, and go into work as a person who helps people who can't help themselves. That's his civilian identity as a damn hero.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas, as you say, sort of the essence of a Batman versus a Bruce Wayne is it's the Scarlet Pimpernel. It's Bruce Wayne is this eccentric millionaire womanizer in varying degrees depending on what sort of adaptation of Batman you're looking at. But I do think that when he plays just like frivolous billionaire privilege boy versus Batman, this serious superhero, that helps to conceal his identity. You know what I mean? Whereas Matt
Oliver
Murdock,
Queen.
there's
Yeah. Yep.
exactly.
Totally.
Yep. So I just have a special soft spot for Daredevil just because, and also, again, maybe I've said this before, but just think about Daredevil's powers, right? Daredevil can, through a pair of gloves, read this script that I have right here. Through a pair of gloves, he can read the script because his sense of touch is that sensitive. So when he punches some guy in the face 50 times, how much does that hurt?
Yeah, a lot.
How much does that hurt?
I've never thought about that.
And I think that that's some of the huge success of the Netflix series, particularly when it comes to Daredevil. And I think also with Jessica Jones, which I also absolutely love, is that there is a level of it. Like, it hurts more when people get hit than when you see someone get hit in, a big Marvel movie. It hurts a lot more when you see either him hitting people or him getting hit himself. It just...
And they get more tired, too. The whole reason why we love that hallway fight is you see him expending maximum effort, and then that natural...
Right. It's like that stairwell fight in Atomic Blonde.
Yeah. That's very much channeling it.
DC did coin the whole dark and gritty thing. But really, if you take away the negative connotations of that, that's what Daredevil did. And because it had a lower budget than a lot of the big comic book movies that we were seeing at the time, it really did look like it hurt more because we're there. We're down and dirty watching this thing. And I think that it was so different different and original for its time, and it doesn't even get the credit that it deserves based on all of the shows that followed suit.
I think that some of the success also of the Netflix series, and Daredevil in particular in season 1, is the development of the villains. The villains are, in the Marvel Netflix series, for almost across the board, are far more compelling and layered and not just mustache twirly bad guy than a lot of the villains that we see in the MCU films proper.
Thank you, because I was gonna forget to bring up D'Onofrio's Kingpin.
Oh my God, Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin is unbelievable.
Yeah, because I was really focused on he's so incredible and human and in practice that sort of. Here's what I love about Daredevil and the casting, because I'll talk about Kingpin and I'll talk about the character of Matt Murdock, because they're impossible things to play. And props to D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox for killing these roles, because on paper, the relatable villain that like you see their human side and you understand what they're doing, but you also hate them, and like on
like
paper,
Tony Soprano, but the villain of the series.
right? Yeah, but even like I don't know, it's such that on paper it's great, but it's such a hard tightrope to actually walk, especially for comic book.
Yes.
Movies. I think something like and I think maybe that's why the tone of Daredevil works so well, and that's why the Tony Soprano thing like connects to it so well, because Sopranos, I think Daredevil probably almost fits in the Sopranos world more than it does Avengers. But I think especially for comic book movies, that's hard to do, because at the end of the day, even though a villain is like, I lost my entire family, and that's why I must unleash the sky beam from dimension, and you're like, okay. But D'Onofrio took that idea of fully fleshed out human, that distilled pro wrestling of, I want to pay money to see this guy get punched in the face. I know why. I know how he got here, and I can even relate to it on so many levels. But I want to see him just get trounced, and there's something so cool and special about that performance.
Well, it's also just to jump in right on that point as far as his humanity. It's also one of the only times I've ever seen in comics, movies, anything, them really humanize his relationship with his wife. If you are a monster, trust me, I speak from experience. When you're a big, fat, bald monster and you find somebody to love you, and understand why you are the way you are, and go, hey, sometimes fools got to get murdered, baby, and they stroke your back, whatever.
It's my favorite Marvin Gaye
Get out of here, dude.
You
That's
do not
beautiful.
speak from experience.
You know what I mean, though. But it's like when you find somebody that really loves the you that you are, because whoever you are, if you're whoever you guys are, to find somebody that really loves you for who you are
Roxy.
is totally different. Whoever you guys are.
There is that.
I know. I totally get
There
what
is
you're
that
saying.
danger of what's Mr. Freeze's wife's name?
I hope it's not Vanessa too.
Is that also Vanessa?
I genuinely though for a second was like,
I'm
is it
sorry.
Vanessa?
Nora.
But I think there is that danger. There's that danger of Noraizing Vanessa.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Where you're going to romanticize and just be like, oh, Nora. But Nora's just an idealized manic pixie ice girl, in a tube.
Well, she's flawless because she has no character, because she can never emote because she's frozen.
But Vanessa was just so I think that was very smartly one of the ways to really dig in and relate to Kingpin, because like you're saying, when you meet someone like her, you hang on and you do whatever you can to fight for her.
Well, I agree with everything we're saying, but one of the most incredible things about Daredevil was it was the start of all of these other amazing shows.
Yes.
And this universe. Jessica Jones being my favorite of the Marvel Netflix series.
I'm completely in agreement with you on that.
It was. I talk about things that you didn't know you needed, and then you saw it, and you were like, "I've been waiting for this for a very long time." I think that casting-wise, all of the casting that you said is spot on. But Kristen Ritter, like, how do you find Jessica Jones?
Yeah, she talked about it. I remember watching her on a panel at Comic-Con, and she was talking about what was so great about Jessica Jones was it was like being in the cool sort of alt indie film that you always wanted to be in that had a really important message and something to say, except people are watching it because it's a superhero thing and it's on Netflix.
Right.
I love Alias, the Brian Michael Bendis comic that Jessica Jones is inspired by. There are certain things in the TV show. Man, I really wish that we could have gotten introduced to Carol Danvers in Jessica Jones, but they have Trish Walker like kind of fill her role.
And she does a great
And she's
job,
great. And I
yeah.
love Trish, and I love all the stuff that happens with Hellcat. I know that's an unpopular opinion. The thing that I love about the show is it has complicated women, and women are allowed to make bad choices.
Yeah.
They're allowed
and you're
to
allowed to love them anyway,
Yes.
or you're allowed to not like them for it.
100%.
Totally.
100%. But yeah, Kristen Ritter is so fantastic in this, and she has such good chemistry with Mike Coulter as Luke Cage. When they the first time that they hook up and they both realize that they're super, it's this moment of relief in a very dark series because they're like, oh my god, I can finally be with someone and not have to worry about breaking them.
Also, just so sexy.
Oh, it's so hot.
Come up with a million other things, but yeah, Luke Cage being another one. What was your guys' favorite of the shows?
Super banging. Now, you know what? As much of a Daredevil stan as I am, I surprised myself in how much I really enjoyed Jessica Jones. Because, and it wasn't like I went in with any bad taste in my mouth or whatever, but just in the comic books, I'm just going to be plain about it. The Luke Cage, Jessica Jones relationship in the comic books seems like the most tacked on garbage I've ever read in my whole life. It just seems really stupid, and it doesn't really seem to go, and it just seems like, ew. That's what it seems like the decision-making process was.
Yes.
In the show, though, it's exactly as you stated.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, girl, we got the super, I just, I love that. But I also love, and let's just be plain about it.
They also didn't keep it together. They didn't go,
Because
this
it's
is
not
a Marvel
realistic.
Comics bingo.
Yes,
Yeah.
because just because you have that intense sexual chemistry with somebody doesn't mean there's the people you're supposed to be with.
Yeah.
In movies,
God,
it's
tell me.
always
They're not actually a
So
good-
often.
right. In movies,
maybe.
whoever you bang in the chandelier moves or whatever, that's who you're supposed to be with. In real life, that
not
person
true.
probably sucks.
Yeah.
And they're good at that, and you avail yourself of it while you can. And
Yeah.
then
I gotta
forget.
be honest.
Just subtweet me, buddy. I hear you. Yeah.
If you breathe, the chandelier moves. If you're having sex and the chandelier doesn't move, I mean,
You're a ghost.
What?
You're having ghost sex.
I've never banged in a place that had a chandelier, so I'm not speaking from
I've
experience.
never done that either, but I've been in a place that has a chandelier. If I walk by, it moves. That's not hanging by a thread.
Super soft. Dan Aykroyd,
Yeah.
Ghostbuster sex. But yeah, I got really into Jessica Jones just because honestly, I think one of the main things, as powerful as Kristen Ritter is, as powerful as the supporting cast is.
Yeah.
The villain of the Purple Man is the only villain that has scared me in a comic book movie
Yes.
or TV thing ever, full stop.
And that was another thing that I wanted to bring up was David Tennant as the Purple Man, because he is a mustache twirly evil villain. He does not have redeeming qualities. But he's so scary to the point that all of a sudden, if you ask me what my superpower is, the only superpower I want is to not be affected by superpowers because I'm so afraid of that character.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
So essential, I think, to the chemistry of that show.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm trying to navigate this because on one hand, you don't want to take away from Ritter, who's incredible.
No,
Right.
But-
you know.
well, their chemistry together too. We can talk about it from
their
that
chemistry.
framework.
Yeah, their chemistry together. That show had to desperately find weird ways to bring him back with the hallucination stuff, because I enjoyed the seasons, but there was just something
about
about
it.
the someone's going to die. Between these
Totally.
two,
Right.
the inevitability of
Yes.
the two of them,
Yes.
was perfect.
Yeah, I agree. And Joe, it's interesting because talking about navigating conversations like that, it's so hard because as Birds of Prey came out and people want to praise Ewan McGregor's performance, but they don't want to say that he's the best part of the movie, especially for a movie like that. I think it's okay to acknowledge how incredible
That girl's doing
Kilgrave
dudes
is.
rule while Ewan McGregor rules.
Yeah, exactly. But
Ewan McGregor is great.
truly going back to Emma's point about the villains, I mean, Luke Cage had a great one too. You know, these shows consistently every time showed up with these scary people that you didn't know how the hero was going to survive or get out of it. And you knew they were going to,
right,
but you didn't know how.
Right.
And that's something that I don't feel. I love the CW DC TV shows, but I don't usually feel that way. The villains come through, and I'm like, my heroes are going to kick your villain's butt because your villain, other than Grodd, your villains are just not going to. They're not going to hang. But with this, I was like, we're going to have to work really hard because we can't.
In fact, the only reason why my willing suspension of disbelief was ever affected with Defenders shows in terms of like, are I actually going to get out of this, was because they told us Defenders is coming.
Right.
That is a move I wish they had not made. I wish they hadn't done like, hey, guess what? Because then there's like an expectation in my head of like, oh, well, no matter how many bones get broken on Matt Murdock, like, at some point, he's got to pal around with Iron Fist in a couple years.
And
that's the only thing, though. Every the rest of it. I mean, if Jessica Jones, if Luke Cage hadn't made it, I think or Murdoch, I think it would have fit the tone of those shows.
Yeah.
I think it really would have fit and made sense.
But
I don't acknowledge the other one. So,
Iron
sorry, it's
Fist.
so bad.
Iron Fist. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like this thing about like, and I've railed against it forever. I'm an early adopter of certain things. I was an early adopter of not liking the Nolan verse of Batman because Batman is more of a fantasy character, ironically, than a dude with superpowers. He's a person where Batman in the comic books, he seemed to be able to be James Bond. I can just be Batman for 20 years, jumping around rooftop. I don't have to worry about my knees. This Daredevil, I worry about his knees. I worry about him getting CTE. He's getting really hit and slammed.
Yeah.
So like if he were to die or retire after 3 seasons or whatever, it would feel so satisfying to me in a way that I guess all the normals got from the Nolan verse. I always hated that Batman was always on the verge of quitting. He was on the verge of quitting in the first one, the second one, and the third one. It's like, stop trying to quit.
You know, honestly,
I don't feel that way, but I hear you.
But that's what I feel like, especially the second and the third one. He was super trying to quit both of those.
Well, I had the meta satisfaction of Chris Evans saying goodbye because the dude's leaving. Like, you got to retire Captain America in some sort of satisfying way. If Daredevil had gotten the I'm officially going off into the sunset with my friends, I almost earned it to me more than Cap did.
Well,
because he does get hit
a lot.
He gets beat the hell up.
Talking about that though, Joe, I think that the part of this that we don't even know how it's going to end up, but that's kind of a bummer, is the political part of this, which is that the show was not going to stay on Netflix.
Right.
And, and then it was not, couldn't go to another, because the 2-year period of which you had for the streaming service, and where do they go? Do we ever see them again? The actors had to take other jobs. Mike Coulter was like, I'm like a working person. I mean, all of them.
Yeah.
So we don't even know. It still hasn't to this day been completely clarified. You will never see these characters again. You will see these characters again, but not for a long time.
Well, not on Plus. I mean, if adult Lizzie McGuire is to,
but on Hulu,
sure.
We don't.
Sure,
know,
they could migrate to a Hulu.
We just don't know, and so it was such a bummer because these shows were incredible, and building up to Defenders, which I think probably for all of us was a slight letdown, if not a. I mean, there were good parts for sure, but it was not the kick butt thing that we wanted it to necessarily
the shows
be.
like as good as things were getting, and as strong as the cast was and the actors and the characters, there was a consistency issue that started to bleed in. There was like, I think first season of Daredevil, first season of Jessica Jones, perfect. And then from there on, there's something missing where it's like, I love 91% of this.
The Punisher was excellent.
Punisher was great.
Punisher was. You know what? I'll come clean. I can't remember what horrible thing was going on in the news, but I actually didn't watch.
You were totally in your rights.
Punisher.
I don't remember specifically what it was either, but
they pushed it because of the shooting.
I think it was Parkland.
Okay. So I just mentally, I just kind of wasn't ready. I think I watched it eventually, but for the longest time, I just was not ready to go there.
It was excellent, but
It's had a violence thing for a little while.
I get it. But between that and then the non-closure of the shows, just kind of like fading out.
I mean, that's the biggest crime of this whole thing is we never got any closure because they were pretending like, oh, we can sort of salvage this. Maybe we'll throw it on Hulu. Maybe we'll do this. Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah.
Knowing damn well you're not going to do that because you don't like Jeff Loeb for whatever reason.
Right.
And XYZ. You know what I mean?
That's
like
the political part that I'm
Right.
referencing, or
Right.
whatever that word is. I say political.
No, that is politics. That is politics.
Yeah.
Basic office politics.
Yeah.
Office
Corporate politics.
corporate politics and office politics happen in every business, even the business of show. And it really messed it up because we weren't able to, like Joe's saying, and like we're all saying, like just stop it. Like have it stop at a certain point.
It also would have been better if they had killed them off, and it would have been the most unbelievably tragic event the TV's ever had. That they something happened, but like then we know.
But they saved the city.
Yeah,
Because it is frustrating. You're right. It is frustrating that because once the deal was there and it's like, oh yeah, Disney Plus is coming and everything, Netflix did bury them. And if you haven't gone back and watched them, like it's worth it, man. Except for Iron Fist. Like if you haven't watched Daredevil season 3,
it was excellent.
The prison episode is one of the best action sequences ever shot for television.
Yeah.
Ever. You owe it to yourself to watch it.
It's the hallway scene times like 2 to me.
Yeah.
As far as its efficacy.
And the hallway scene is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's the hallway scene.
It's a show.
Everyone knows what you're talking about when you say the hallway scene.
You don't even have to say the show you're talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
It's weird. It's a season of television that's like, we know there's no hope of salvaging this, but we're still going to try to top ourselves. Like, we're not just going to come in and like, well, here's the last season of Daredevil. Like, it was like, no, this is the last season of Daredevil. Like, I don't know, just...
Well, and here's where I come in and have people hate me. I honestly think the main mistake was that deal that they struck to make Iron Fist have to have his own show before he could be with the Defenders or with Power Man. Or, excuse me, I'm showing my age, with Luke Cage.
Yeah.
It's... That was a key misstep.
It was a big mistake. I totally agree, because that was one of the things that was good about Defenders. Iron Fist got infinitely more interesting once he and Luke Cage were together. The two actors had great chemistry together.
There was the hand issue too, that people were just never fully on board with the hand. What is the hand? Who is the hand? Where is the hand?
Yeah, and that's that's totally
you are
true.
right. The street level show, like... Give me more Vincent D'Onofrio, man. I don't need...
Remember when Sigourney Weaver was in this verse?
Oh my God.
Oh
yes,
my God.
that's right.
I don't need a...
And it is amazing in everything she does.
I don't need a Dragon Bone cave
Right, and also...
in this show. I don't.
Right, but even with the Dragon Bones, like, that's the thing. I think if you put him in Power Man or put him in Luke Cage's show, and we started out as Power Man and Iron Fist, aka Luke Cage and Danny, the fantabulous emancipation of them, whatever you want to call it, right? You start
Danny
out
Rand.
you just start out the show as these two people. One of them is a rough and tumble guy who's trying to start a new life as a private superhero making Skrilla. He meets this weird crunchy dude that looks like he just washed up on the shore and he's got no shoes on, got dirty feet. He claims he's a rich guy. He starts hanging around the office saying, hey, I know Kung Fu, I can help you, bro. And they just have this weird relationship, and then he finally sees that Danny Rand can whoop some ass, and he really is the Iron Fist, and he really is powerful. It's like, hey, dude, what the hell? And there's a larger plot.
I think the key there was don't explain it. Don't, if you're not gonna go for it. And if Iron Fist isn't going to be like Crouching Tiger or Jet Li in Hero, like levels of like, or even
martial
just
arts.
Putting that level of martial arts to a Big Trouble in Little China insane looking aesthetic. And
but think about it.
Then don't do it.
You're in a show, but you're in a show in the hood where people are selling bootleg tapes of the alien thing that happened, and it's just really grounded. It's like do the right thing, starring a superhero, and then it turns
Cage and Danny Rand show.
Right, and then it turns into for a whole section of a show. It looks like Do the Right Thing, the show, and then it turns into Crouch Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or Big Trouble in Little China. Whenever Danny Rand comes on, that juxtaposition is amazing.
Those are some of our thoughts on on this, guys. No, it's okay. We have a ton of them, but really, I'm curious what you guys think. What were your favorite moments of Daredevil or of the Marvel TV, Netflix verse in general? What was your favorite character, the best villain? Leave that all in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, tell your friends. Hit that bell. Yeah, he's on it with him.
He's on it.
And just let us know what you guys are thinking. I do want to ask you a very, very quick fan question before we get out of here. Only because I'm so curious if any of you actually have answers for this fan
These
question.
ones are weird.
Because I love these fans so much. Vinblow Rose, I'm looking at you. At Vinblow, epic question. I'm going to read it just as it's written. Favorite birds? In movies, in general.
You know what I love? I love piping plovers. They're a shorebird. They're like yay tall. They got long legs, and they tend to run in little packs. But they like run, and then they stop for a little while, and then they run, and they stop for a little while, and they're very cute.
Okay, sure.
Yep.
Joe, favorite birds?
Are porgs
Porgs
birds?
are birds. Yeah, porgs
Fly-
are birds.
Well, no, they do fly. Yeah,
they're
they're
birds.
birds.
Porgs.
Porgs.
Ed?
You know, when I was a kid, I used to look at animal books, and I read about a bird called the golden eagle.
Oh.
And it was just like, it sounded like just the grizzly bear of eagles.
Totally.
You know what I mean? It was just such a badass eagle. Like, this eagle swoops down and grabs deer and throws them into the sun. It was just like, this eagle sounds so badass.
It's the best eagle. The
I want to
golden
be
eagle.
a golden eagle.
I will say, one of my, when people are like, what's LA like? It is a bird involved story where I was trying to drive home one day, and I was driving through the Hollywood Hills, because that's how you get off the main roads and avoid traffic. And I turned this corner, and there were just a dozen peacocks in the road, just out there living their lives. And I just sat, and I didn't know what to do. And there were cars lining up behind me, and I'm just like, I don't know.
I can't run over all these peacocks.
I don't know. And so I'm like inching forward, and the peacocks are like, bitch, I'm a peacock. I don't give a shit about you. And like, I just.
But like the
it's,
most Hollywood part about that entire story is fast forward 10 years and there's a streaming service with the name of the thing in front of it.
Yeah, the guy behind me was like,
Write
I
this
have a
down.
great idea for a
Peacock.
streaming service.
hey.
We're going to do a
Vengeance will be
Saved by the
mine.
Bell revival.
I loved the Hitchcock movie, The Birds. That was
Great.
really
Good
scary.
movie.
And in general, we had a bird growing up named Sunny.
What kind of bird?
It was a cockatiel.
They can live like 40 years.
But it didn't, because my dad doesn't believe in cages or clipping birds' wings. So the bird lived in our house. That is right. The bird lived in the house.
Our neighbors had several cockatiels that just lived in their house.
The bird pooped where it wanted, ate what it wanted, it went where it
Interesting idea.
wanted, and it was 7 when the bird no longer.
Not in a movie, but one of my old I think it was probably Maury. The golden age of like.
The bird is not the father.
Well, the golden age of like, this lady eats boats, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
But there was one that was just like, this lady has an irrational fear of pickles. This lady is terrified of birds, and then it cuts to the backstage where they'd be like, hey Maury, like I might look soft on the outside, but if someone tells me I have to go to a playground, I'll kill him. Those weird montage things.
Yes, I remember.
And it's just this
all
lady
too well.
sobbing, and she goes, I don't know why God created birds. And that's been in my head for years. I will just look at a bird, and I will immediately go, I don't know why God created birds. And that's right.
Big bird, guys.
I don't know why God created him.
On that note, thanks to you all you birds out there. Am I right?
Special shout out to Birdman.
Yeah, true. Where can the people keep up with you?
At Ed Greer Destroys on Twitter. I have my YouTube channel called Reboot It, where we kind of take apart franchises and try to reboot them in about an hour. Sometimes we win, sometimes we fail, and that's the point of watching it. We don't
That is
edit
life.
Jack. Yep, absolutely. And you can check out Nerd Goat Podcast, where we talk to interesting people about their favorite fictional character. So yeah, and hit up that Patreon, nerdgoat.com/Patreon.
Yes,
that'd be
don't-
great.
Don't forget to plug that one.
I know.
It's a big one, especially
I know.
now. We don't know where you are right now.
Boy,
Yes, we
right?
don't know where you are right now. I am at Emma Fyffe all over the internet, wherever Emma Fyffes are sold. I also have a podcast. It's called Not Safe for Weebs. We talk about weird, sexy anime things. It's really fun. We also host the podcast on Anchor, where you can contribute to the podcast if you want to.
Awesome.
I have a Coffee account. I don't have a Patreon. It's coffee, ko-fi.com/Emma Fyffe. If you want to just like throw some tip money my way, that's what it's for.
Toss a coin to your Emma.
Joe, where can people find you?
Well, depending on where this falls chronologically and my ability to follow through, you can find me on my my podcast, Goblin Cock, where
Goblin
I talk about sex with fantasy creatures.
Throwback to Goblin Cock. What?
It's KOCH.
Goblin Cock. Goblin
It's about.
That would be Goblin
It's about.
Cock.
Yeah, it's about.
Called the Koch brothers.
Yeah, it's about the shadowy conservative cabals that fund Middle Earth.
I'm Roxy
It's about the guys
Striar.
pulling strings in Gondor.
You can find me at Roxy Striar, youtube.com/Roxy Striar, and patreon.com/Roxy Striar. Also, we love you guys very much. Thank you for watching SJU today. Don't forget to leave comments about Daredevil or whatever the heck you want.
Yeah.
We are here for it. We'll see you guys tomorrow, we think, on SJU.